Welcome everybody. Johnny Joystick here. Today we are playing a 1992 Konami classic G.I. Joe, a real American hero. This game was released only in the arcades, and it was actually pretty sweet. I wish that we had a home version of this. I would have liked that, because what we did have just didn't look appealing to me at all. Um, Now I keep hearing that they're actually pretty good. One of these days I'll go back and play like the Atlantis Factor or whatever the NES version was, but it just didn't appeal to me. And I really enjoyed G.I. Joe when I was a kid. I was a big fan of the comic books, more than the cartoon. But that is where this kind of comes from. Is it's based off of the 1989-1990 Deke Enterprises GI Joe cartoon. So we have four characters to choose from: Duke, Roadblock, Scarlet, and Snake Eyes. Duke has his updated uniform for the 1991-1992 toy line, I believe. Snake Eyes has his outfit from 1991. There's a lot of people talk about this game, and then when they see Snake Eyes, it's like, well, Snake Eyes wore all black. He didn't look like that. Well, he did. I love that splash. It's like the issue 107 of the comic book. um, but no, Snake Eyes did have that outfit in the toy line, and I believe they kind of had him wear it in the Deke series, which was nowhere near as good as the original Sunbow series. But when this came out, they're making another big push. The original G.I. Joe Real American Hero, the Sunbow series, had only gone till like 1986. I think in 1987 we had the movie. Well, it ended up being that three-parter or whatever, where they were going to kill Duke, but because of what happened to Optimus Prime, they said no. And then they went back to the drawing board. Deke, the production values were a lot cheaper, and it was more in line with the toy line, and that's what they're doing here. So let's go ahead and add some quarters and dive in. I think we'll start with Duke. Well, I'll go through everybody. We're gonna go in order. Oh. So this is not a platformer or such. This is a run and gun rail shooter. Oh, man. Yeah, and they. I really wish I had auto. Right now, I'm just like. And you can hear the music. Got to get tough, yo, Joe. And that was what they used instead of the classic GI Joe theme in the cartoon. So this is definitely based off of more of what they were doing with that. Oh, there we go. Oh, and I just lost it. So there is like the rapid fire power up that you can get. Yeah, this I remember playing this. It reminded me a lot of Devastators. I always think of like Cabal, very much the same way. Oh, should probably use some more of these missiles. I only got one left though. There. Oops. Nice. There we go. Yeah, the theme song I thought was awful. So was the animation. Yeah, like the Deke series just sucked. It was really goofy, and I mean, you know, what I didn't like about the original series was how kind of goofy it would get. I mean, sometimes when you had like episodes like the Day of the Viper, that was awesome. You know, it was fun. I like the where they're showing like the Cobra R&R. But the fact that nobody ever got killed, nothing ever happened. That always bothered me about the uh, the cartoon. Even though it wasn't even until like issue 107 where that really happened in the comic book. You started seeing Joes get killed. There was still like more death and things in it. A lot more mature, grounded storytelling. But I still liked the toy line from those years, even though it was getting goofier. There were still some cool Vipers that came out, like Saw Viper. I thought looked really cool. I like these urban Vipers, but like, oh, all right, let's go with Snake Eyes now. Big complaint about this is the fact that Snake Eyes has a death cry in in the game, and he says "Yo Joe," when you select him, and because he's famously a mute. Um, But like, yeah. As far as like the comic, or yeah, I tripped on something and died. I lost my rapid fire. Great. These urban vipers, I like them. But yeah, like I'll excuse the Snake Eyes stuff just because of uh the video game aspect of things. Forgot how much of a difference the rapid fire makes. Whew. Not really any breaks in between levels. It's just like go, go, go. It kind of reminds me of Kari Warriors in that respect. All right, let's go with Scarlet now. Right, each one of them has a different shape for their targeting, which is kind of cool. I think that's mainly so you could tell apart who, who was firing where on the screen. I guess the cabinet for this, oh damn, came in two different versions. There was the two-player one. That was the one that they had at the gold mine where I played this, and but I guess there was also a four-player version, which I've never seen that. It's pretty cool. Yeah, this was when Konami was really at the height of their powers. Oh, damn. Yeah, right there in the early 90s when they had just everything licensed, and they were actually just making solid games of licensed properties.
I can't wait to see you. It's showtime.
not a super long game, but the stages get really, really long. Yeah, like all that. That was just the first mission. I like the cameo from Scoop. I really liked his figure in the toys. Yeah, they did a lot of re-releases at this time, like updated the uniforms. And some of the looks weren't that great. Like Duke, I didn't really care for this like 90 release of Duke, but like I didn't have the original Duke figure. Like I was never able to find that, or I was making a choice that there was someone else, yeah, another figure I wanted that was higher on my list of priorities. And man, but I also felt like Duke was just one of the harder ones to find. Like at least when I was in a position to be getting a new toy, right? Yeah, and like I had that same problem. Like I could never find a Destro figure until the Iron Grenaders and the gold mask Destro at you know in this era, which I was like totally stoked about. You know, I love Gold Mask Destro, and I really like how they handled him in the comics. Go back to Snake Eyes. Now that we've seen everybody in action. Haha, I suck. And then they did a couple like what 92, I think. They re-released a silver mask Destro, and you know, within they also brought back Major Blood in this time with this stupid neon outfit. But yeah, Major Blood was one, like, unless you got him like way back, you just weren't gonna find him. Uh, so there's a lot of Cobras that I wish I had, but I didn't, or I was getting Joes instead. Um, or I was picking up ones that I just wasn't able to find otherwise. I feel really lucky that I have the original Snake Eyes figure. And I also had the original Scarlet. Like, her leg broke though, which sucked. Um, and then Flash from the '82 line. God, every time I'm just sucking at this. Let's go back to Duke. Yeah, sometimes there were Joes I missed out on just so I could get some Cobras, so I'd have somebody for him to frickin' fight. I didn't. I do like, as far as like this era of GI Joe goes. This is probably where I had the most toys, even though like I was outgrowing it, and I didn't really like the neon collar stuff as much. I was still super into the comic book, but I was able to, like get a lot of uh, really good deals on clearance. uh, and like layaway. Like Hills was great for that. I remember I took like I saved my birthday money up when I went to Hills, and they had like all the Mask toys on clearance, and because Mask was gone, but they still had this entire aisle. It was just Mask toys. Those were Mask was definitely my favorite toy. I think I had more GI Joe because they were more accessible. It was just a little more affordable. I did really like them, but Mask I was awesome. It was just so expensive that I didn't get too into it until later. I was able to. you know, put get stuff on layaway. It was on clearance, and some things I just outright bought. Like I got Boulder Hill for $7. Like that's nuts. That was like a holy grail toy. So so yeah, I almost like the complete line of that, but I was able to do very similar things with GI Joe toys and get some of the bigger ones that I never would have had otherwise. You know, like the big mobile command unit. Yeah, Destro fucked the Baroness. Yeah, like that big 3-floor mobile command center giant thing. I had that. I wanted to get the Defiant shuttle. Never got that though. Um, went with the mobile command center instead. Uh, the Defiant was still too expensive, even like when it was like marked down and all that. But yeah, I got a lot of GI Joe stuff as like cheap from this era. Like more vehicles than I ever had when I was even younger. The vehicles were always at a premium for me. I never had many of those. Like I had the Havoc and the Thunder Machine, and those were like my two big ones. You know, like I was so happy when I got those. They were awesome, and I had the Warthog, the amphibious one, which was cool. That was how I got my Sergeant Slaughter figure because he was the driver that came with that. That was a big reason I wanted him. Like, who are the guys that come with it? You know, would have traded it all for the USS Flag, and I still want one of those. And like one day I will get a USS Flag. I'm not all these years later, decades. I still haven't given up, even though I know it's just getting more expensive and harder to find. You know, the more time passes, but one day, one day I will. Let's go back to Roadblock. I know that Roadblock was one I never had either. And like, yeah, I never had the original Stalker, but I was able to get like the Winter Gear Stalker, which I thought like was a super cool figure. Now, I actually like that one a lot better than the original Stalker. I was happy to have him in my lineup. Oh, great. Whoa. Cobra Commander was one too. You know, they had around this time they had the battle armor for him, which was introduced in the comic, but that was more of what he wore in the Deke version. I thought that was like really cool battle armor. I never had the silver mask Cobra Commander. Always wanted that. Thought that was just a super cool one. I also never had the hooded Cobra Commander until like this era because they released a hooded Cobra Commander. We actually had like a few Cobra Commanders in this era of the toys. You had the cool battle armor one. I think that was 89. And then you had they had a hooded one that had like the speech backpack thing on it, which is just cool to get the hooded one. And then they had the one with the weird red mask and like the gold helmet and like the blue outfit. I like that one. It wasn't the best figure, but I just like any Cobra Commander figures. Really, I just like I don't know why. There you have it. I don't feel like that's it. The game is not over yet. That's right. We have to go through it again to get the real ending. Yeah, what were some of your favorite GI Joe toys? Your favorite GI Joe figures? Let me know in the comments. And were you a GI Joe comic person or a cartoon person? I was definitely a comic person. I did watch like the Deke series, and that's mainly because it was what was on when I was getting ready for school. There wasn't like, you know, we didn't have a ton of channels or anything back then. It was kind of like you get like a couple of channels are gonna have like cartoons and stuff, and other than that, you're gonna have to like watch the news or something. And all of like the actual like the really good stuff I wanted to see was always starting like right after I had to leave for school. But G.I. Joe, that was on before I had to leave. I'm gonna stick with Snake Eyes. Yep. Yeah, like I even with like the recolors, you know, like I like the fact that they did re-release a lot of stuff, you know, like what was like the little VTOL aircraft, the Apache or something, I think that the Joes had, and they re-released that with the silver chrome paint job as like part of like the Skyforce or whatever. And I'm like, I was glad that they re-released that toy. Um, Sometimes like they would do things like, oh well, the hiss and the Fang too. It's like I wanted the originals, but yeah, at least you had something, like, you know. And back then, with like, you know, just well, if I didn't have like the Fang, if I didn't have the bad guy figures, why would I want like the vehicles? I have to use my imagination for a lot of it. But I didn't have like really any good guy vehicles either. Um, but yeah, I hate the parents groups or whatever that were all. You know, how dare you make them actually look like army guys and do all, no, you have to make it look all stupid and neon and sci-fi. I mean, like, I honestly I didn't have like a problem with all the sci-fi direction that GI Joe would take, as long as because it wasn't overpowering. It started becoming that, but like you wanted them to have like super cool high tech stuff, and you wanted them to fight, you know, high tech bad guys and everything. So like going into some of that territory, it wasn't too jarring to me. I mean, some of it was, but it was more like, hey, yeah, let's make something like just neon green. I'm not faring too well against this. Okay. Up the difficulty on me. I'm actually not sure if they do or not. I think they do. Can't say for sure. Yeah, I never had any of the other snake. I had the original, so I never felt the need to get any of the other ones until this one. And I got this one just because my original Snake Eyes, his his knee joint was like a little loose, so like he wouldn't really like stand on his own. So instead of just like I didn't want anything to happen to that, so I kind of retired that figure to be more collectible than anything. I didn't want to end up like Scarlet and Flash. Blowtorch was one of my favorite early shows. I mean, he had like the bright orange and yellow suit, but yeah, it worked. Yeah, my cousins had all the vehicles. They had the Terradrome and all that. I don't think they had the flag. They might have, actually. God, I can't remember if they did or not. No, wait, yeah, no, they did. Unless G.I. Joe targeted lay down its arms. You know, like the thing with Major Blood is I could have sworn that they killed him in the comic, like pretty early on. I guess I was wrong. Storm Shadow was one that, like Cobra Storm Shadow, I always wanted. Um, but I could never find him. Like, but I did manage to get the. I think it was from '88, the re-release when he was no longer with Cobra. He was with the Joes. And he had the cool urban camouflage ninja outfit. That was a cool figure. Yeah, Storm Shadow definitely had like the coolest figures. Like even like when they did the re-release, it was still such a freaking cool figure. They didn't get out of the way fast enough that time. Aw. Let me get my rapid fire. One of the few vehicles I had from fairly early on in the line was the Shark with a Deep Six in that big old timey diving outfit. That was pretty awesome. So for me, as a kid, out having a lot of vehicles, that was like the Air Force. The original Viper figures were super cool. Of course, some of my favorites were also the original bats. Love the original bats. Yeah, I around this time they also did like the stupid Eco Warriors lines. I hated that shit. But that was my opportunity to get a Flint figure because I didn't have a Flint figure back when he was current. So the only way I could was to get the damn Eco Warriors. expect to come next. The game is not over yet. The final battle again to get the real ending. You know, the thing about nostalgia that sucks is it's like, yeah, like good memories of this stuff, but you know, it's when there's all the awful shit that's attached to it, and then you start thinking like, you know, yeah, this was a good deal of escapism from trying to find a light in the tunnel, you know. I think that's why I remember, you know, a lot of this so fondly, because it's like when I think about other things, it's like this was my way of escaping from that, and you know, still keeping that. Hey, you know, I'll admit that I started doing this channel and getting back, like really playing old retro games more, is because I wasn't happy with with the way things were going for me. So I just needed a break from that. I'm like, let's go back and revisit things that, you know, made me feel good when other things were bad. Have a little fun with it. And it's like it's still the same as it was back then, you know. And that's realizing that, you know, admitting it isn't the easiest thing, I think, for any of us to really do. I think it's the, you know, it should like, well, there's something wrong now, and this is like a way to get recentered and figure out how to move forwards. I think, you know, it's not dwelling on it, but if you weren't happy back then, Like, how do you change that now? Like, you have to make that decision to do it. And it wasn't like, if you have good memories, you have good memories, even if like everything around it was, less than ideal. That's okay. Because we can still look back at the good stuff, the things that made us happy, and we bring that happiness into the present. And that's what sucks about nostalgia, but it's also why we need it, why we use it, why it's a good thing. Just as long as we don't get stuck too far down that rabbit hole that we aren't making progress in our lives. If we're using it as a springboard to make changes, that's you know the useful thing. To give you that warm feeling in a cold world, so you can then go, okay, now I'm ready. Now I'm ready to do what needs to be done, even if it's difficult. I can handle that shit. And there we go. That's G.I. Joe. We have the full real ending of the game. That's all. Game over. Thank you for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed this. A little trip down memory lane. This is really a fantastic game. It's fun. It's simple. It's short. It's just run and blow stuff up. I always enjoyed this in the arcade, and I wish it got a home port. Um, but definitely a fond game. I remember seeing it. I'm like, cool, GI Joe. I wasn't thinking anything of it, but I didn't think it would be good. I just didn't trust licensed titles. But this was actually like really fun in the arcade, and I was surprised. And it is still fun today, even as short and simple as it is. Definitely recommend checking it out if you get a chance. And let me know your memories of this. Did you play it in the arcade? Did you ever see or play on the 4-player cabinet? Really would love to hear about that in the comments below. Please give this video a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It really helps me out. Really helps my channel grow and lets me know what you'd like to see more of. So then, thanks again for watching, and I will see you all next time.